Hello, everyone. My name is Arthur Gauvin. I'm the partnership coordinator at the Next Street. I'm here today to present an interview with our founder and CEO, Brandon Dufour. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about some frequently asked questions from customers. We're going to talk about hiring. We've been doing a lot of webinars about different things, so we're going to touch on some different topics here and answer your questions as well. So, any questions that you have while we're going through and talking about things, we're happy to answer them. So, we're going to start out. I'm just going to give a little plug of the webinars that we do. So, I do webinars every single week on Thursdays, and I also do Ask Me Anything lives on our Instagram every Friday. Usually those are at about 3:30, and you can just come on, ask any driver's ed question, anything, and then you can also just submit any questions through our social media, so that you're not always having to call or email us. There's a lot of different ways that you can get in contact with us. So, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Brandon. Here he is. How's it going?
Hey everybody.
So yeah, if you could just introduce yourself, tell us little bit about yourself, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So my name's Brandon. I started the Next Street 12 years ago with my father, and yeah, here I am. I'm in, where are we? Pawtucket. Pawtucket. I'm in Pawtucket, Rhode Island today at Studio Quiche. This is my good friend Kristen, and
Nice.
she invited me to her office to. She's our interior decorator slash graphic designer, and so I'm hanging out in her office today, and also putting down some framework for our operations in Rhode Island. So all of that's really exciting. So that is my very brief intro.
Perfect. Yeah, if you want to actually, just because we're talking about it, if you want to actually talk a little bit about the moving into, we're recently opening up in Massachusetts,
Yeah.
and there's our future is to open up in Rhode Island as well. If you want to just talk about the expansion and what that's been like.
Yeah, sure. So our big, hairy, audacious goal as a driving school is to be a national provider of driver's education. So we've been in Connecticut for 12 years. We are officially up and running in West Springfield, Massachusetts. So our first crossover state borders. And the plan is to open across the state of Mass over the next 24 months. And we are simultaneously getting our Providence office set up and hope to be open across Rhode Island, same thing over the next 2 years. So really exciting for us. I think what's made us great in Connecticut is our outstanding customer service and our intense focus on the customer experience. And we've really talked a lot about, is that scalable outside of Connecticut's borders? And what we're learning now is that it is. But there's little nuances. So things that you don't think about. An example just came up in Connecticut. We don't teach about trolleys. In Massachusetts, it's a
Right.
requirement to teach about trolleys because they have a T in Boston and you have to know how to drive around those things. So finding out those little local nuances has become what we're learning, a super important part of the process, but we're going through it and figuring it out. And I think important to note that we'll only scale as long as it makes us better. We're not scaling just to add revenue or build our profitability, but we'll only scale as long as we can also scale our culture, the award-winning, happiest company to work for, continue to find outstanding employees, and create an outstanding customer experience. So long as we can do that, we'll continue to kind of grow the company, and we'll only do it so long as we can keep being outstanding.
Yeah, and one thing that I know that has been a core value of ours since I joined is to, make sure that we're helping our communities that we're serving in, and we're hiring within those communities. Can you just touch a little bit on what sort of efforts we're doing to hire, instructors and other employees in the communities that we're serving?
Yeah, for me, I think the best driving instructor is somebody that knows the local nuances of every town. So, as an example, in Newtown, Connecticut, there's a flagpole in the middle of the town. It's something that you will likely not see in any other town, maybe in the world, and it's right
Right.
in the middle of the road. And so having instructors that are from Newtown and have driven around that flagpole for their entire life makes it so they can also teach the next generation how to navigate around that flagpole. And every town has their own example of Newtown's flagpole. So we really actively look to find people that are from the towns that we're going to be teaching in, that really know the community, that know the local nuances of the road, but that also, have connections to the kids in town that we're teaching and feel really passionate about making them into safe drivers.
Yeah. So to just kind of change the topic a little bit, so I had mentioned at the start before I brought you on some of the different resources that we have for customers to interact with us and ask us questions, and we can help them out in different ways. If you could again just kind of plug some of those things and let people know that there's more than just calling into the call center, which a lot of people, that's kind of their first gut reaction. And, if you could just elaborate on some of that.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about how people communicate in 2021. And so our call center will always be robust. I think a lot of what we do requires human to human contact and communication. And so if you need to talk to somebody, we'll always have that somebody available. Sometimes you just need a quick question answered. And, being able to send a text message that's not a robot, but actually goes to a person and that person can quickly just respond via SMS, I think is super important and something that we offer. Same thing with chat. So going onto our website and being able to quickly chat with somebody, we offer, and it's a great resource, or sending an email. All of those, and even Facebook Messenger or direct message on Instagram, TikTok videos, Snapchat direct messages. So we get all of those things, and we not only use them as marketing tools, but also as customer service tools and ways to communicate with our customers. And so for me, when I lead, the customer experience initiatives, it's making sure that we are where our customers are organically and that we're not forcing them down a path. So sometimes you want to get on the phone and you want to talk to somebody, sometimes you don't. So no matter how you want to communicate with us, those opportunities are there.
That's great. So to get into those questions that the customers have for us, we're going to get right into it and address one of the elephants in the room that has been a problem for driving schools and across the country and the war, just everyone in the world with things getting pushed back. So if you could just talk about driving lesson availability, that's one of the questions that we get most.
Yeah. So our business is interesting in that we obviously had to close from March 15th, 2020 to June 22nd, 2020. And, the example that I like to give is if you're a restaurant, if people don't go out to dinner on Tuesday, they just don't go out to dinner on Tuesday. That's lost business. For us, if you don't take driver's ed on Tuesday, you still need to take driver's ed on Wednesday. And so what being closed created was this massive backlog of people that we would have otherwise been serving that still needed to be served, which seems obvious and something that we should be able to plan for. The thing that we didn't really understand and couldn't really plan for was that a number of our competitors were unable to reopen. So the market share that we had kind of grew well beyond our wildest imaginations, which is great. I think it speaks to our brand and our reputation and the reviews, but it's also created this really big demand that was well beyond what we had planned for. So we've been in a significant hiring push since, I will say, September. It's a balancing act, right? For me, and in my leadership role, I have said to the team from the start, I would way rather have somebody wait 3 or 4 months for a lesson with an outstanding driving instructor than hire people that don't meet our minimum quality standards and have them be able to get a lesson next week with somebody that is subpar. And so we've been hiring as fast as we can find people qualified. It's a simple standard in that the question is, would you put this applicant alone in a car with your own son or daughter, right? And so we would never put our students in any kind of safety jeopardy or just in a position where they might feel uncomfortable or that we would feel uncomfortable. So the good news is there's light at the end of the tunnel. We have been successful in hiring. We have 6 instructors that are testing with the DMV on Friday. We have 6 more that are testing on June 4th. We currently have 30 additional that are in our training program. And so the promise that we've made is to be back to our normal wait time, which is about 6 weeks. Pre-COVID, it was always a 4 to 6 week wait for peak driving lessons. And so our goal is to be back to that by July 1st. Standing here today, that promise should absolutely be kept. And we'll be adding in all of that driving availability over the next 6 weeks, basically. So I know it's not optimal, but at the same time, I would much rather have people waiting a little longer and have the knowledge that their instructor is outstanding than just be throwing you in a car with somebody that isn't. So we're still hiring actively. If any of our listeners, watchers, viewers, I guess, people are watching, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's a strange way to do this.
I know it's funny. People aren't so used to the live stream feel, but
well, you would think a year later I would be used to it, but it's still uncomfortable. I prefer the human interaction. Anyway, for people watching, we're not, like passively sitting back and waiting. We have an entire team of people that are all over hiring, interviewing, getting applicants in the door. And so if you know anybody that you think would be an outstanding driving instructor, send them our way. We have great benefits. We have great pay packages. And we'd love to talk to anybody that's interested. But there are people on board. They're really great. The training classes we have right now, I've sat in on a few. They're really fun. We have good groups of people ready to go. So more inventory coming very, very soon, and appreciate everybody's patience while we get everybody trained up.
Yeah, and paid training.
Paid training, that's right.
Which is another good thing.
And if not, Arthur is a licensed driving instructor. And if we get to a point where we just don't have the people, he's going to be working 90 hours a week.
Yeah. And then, I won't be able to do these anymore. So, that's a good point though. And when I did get my license, I got my driving instructor license 2 years ago now, a little over 2 years ago. And the program has changed a lot, and for the better. We have really optimized the training program and getting instructors through it while still getting all the information they need, but in an efficient way. And we've managed to, with some struggle, get some sort of cooperation from the DMV because that's always going to be, as a driving school, it's always going to be something that we have to deal with and go through.
Yeah, it's an important note. I mean, our instructors aren't, self-regulated. They have to pass a test with the DMV, just as a new driver would. And just like we have a wait for driving lessons, the whole state, the whole industry has a wait for road tests, and our instructor tests are in that same kind of queue. So fortunately, we have test dates on the book for these new hires. We were able to make those and get them into DMV's queue. So we are all set for this next round of hiring and getting people through the door. And we'll just continue hiring and training on a regular rhythm.
And because you just touched on it, license testing. So, there's obviously there's a long wait times with the DMV now. The DMV's definitely pushed back. So if you could talk a little bit about our personal testing times.
It's so hard, man, because trying to be polite, but also speaking candidly, like the DMV, we've all experienced the DMV, and now we've had the opportunity of experiencing it also in Rhode Island and also in Massachusetts. And, it can be a tricky agency to work with for whatever reason. And, we've made all of the arguments that we can possibly make for why we need more supply, and we've gotten all of the reasons back from them that they can't give more supply. And so it's tricky. We were in the system yesterday, and the branches have basically the same wait time that we do. And it seems like the DMV has similar just hiring challenges that we have. And so I am actively on the phone every day with the leadership at the DMV. We have a lobbyist that's actively on the phone, with the legislature and with the governor's office. And we're like doing everything we can to shout from the rooftops and fight and be advocates for our customers, really making the point that this isn't a next street business problem. This is a statewide, issue. A license isn't just you jump in the car and go and drive. It's workforce development. It's the ability to get to and from jobs. It's the ability to help family with errands and take care of things. And so, we are full court press on the state of Connecticut to resolve this. We're trying to provide creative solutions and really hopeful that they'll be open-minded to some of those solutions and help us get through it. In the meantime, we have to just keep fighting the fight, which is what we're doing. We are requesting more test dates every single day. We are trying to get more supply every single day. And we just keep hoping that one day they say yes.
Yeah. So there has been a lot of talk about masks and things kind of going back to normal
Yeah.
and a return to some sort of normalcy. And one of
Yeah.
those things is returning to a classroom. Now, we're not
Yeah.
a necessarily traditional classroom because it's driver's ed. It's separate from, your school. But if you could talk a little bit about what your thoughts are for the future of in-person classes through the next street.
I think the feedback from our customers pretty much across the board, with very few exceptions, has been virtual learning is outstanding for driver's ed. They love the flexibility of it. They love being able to do it kind of from wherever they are. It gives us a ton of more flexibility in time slots that we can offer classes. We're not restricted by geography or human capacity. So what used to take us 30 or 40 driving instructors to facilitate classes now takes 12. We used to kind of have these 2:30 classes or 6:30 classes. We now run classes from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. So there's a bill in with the legislature now to make virtual learning for drivers ed a permanent solution. It looks like that bill is going to pass. I think that we will hold some in-person classes. I always want to be accessible. I always want to be mindful of people that either don't have internet access or have trouble learning in a virtual environment, and still make the program accessible to the margin cases or the fringe. But the overwhelming majority of our customers have said, please stay virtual. And so that's our plan. We have no plans to go back to a full suite of in-person classes. We'll likely stay in a mostly virtual environment and have some kind of in-person classes here and there for those that need it.
Yeah, and one of those benefits to being virtual, you touched on it, is the availability. Now, that is one of the things that we do have readily available is those virtual classes. So, if you could just touch on, how many classes are we offering? I know that we've talked about those types of numbers before, and if you could just elaborate.
I think it's one of the biggest, silver linings of the pandemic for our business is just the availability of classes. So we are running somewhere between 30 and 40 class sessions a day, basically 7 days a week. So no matter which class session you need to take, you can kind of find it within a 2-week period at a time slot that you need it. And you can do it from your living room. So we're running, significantly more classes than anybody else in the marketplace. It's crazy the amount of flexibility we have. And our team has done a really good job at, making sure that classroom availability is at the days and times that people need them the most. So we are readily available in the summer months in driver's ed. High school students are allowed to take up to 4 hours of class a day on non-school days. So we run the programs in a more accelerated fashion so that you could finish them in less than 10 days instead of the kind of 7 to 8 weeks that it would take in a normal school year environment. So the classes we have ample availability. We have availability in there now. You can take them when they work for you. No issue. And then the driving lessons, as we talked about, we just need to get caught up on, which is happening literally as we speak.
as we speak.
Yeah.
And just as an idea, I believe we're booking about 2 weeks out for the virtual classroom training. Is that's about right?
Yeah, if you're enrolling in a new
Yeah,
class, you're looking, you can start a week or two from now.
yeah,
At any given time. And, if you're in an absolute rush, we can make other accommodations. You would have to call the call center, but we can figure out how to get you in this week if you absolutely need it for your license test appointment, or there's some other reason that you're in a rush beyond what's right now in the system. The only reason that it's even a 2 week wait right now is because we're changing over from school year to summer schedules. So there's this little bit of gap in between that switch over. But in most of the time you can find a class tomorrow.
great. And then one of the last, we've gotten some talks. I do some of the social media stuff, and we've gotten some questions about pricing and how we price things, and I just wanted to. We are really about being transparent with how we do things, and I just wanted to hear from you about how we price things and what your thoughts are with that.
Yeah, it's a really simple business math equation. It's, costs plus a little bit of margin. And so a driving instructor in Greenwich, Stamford, Norwalk, Westport makes more money than a driving instructor does in Enfield, Hartford, Torrington, Connecticut. And so we basically are taking the same thing with fuel costs, right? Our other major cost is fuel. Gas, if you've ever been driving in Fairfield County, costs way more than it does in the rest of the state of Connecticut. And so our retail prices reflect our costs plus a little bit of margin for the business. So that's it. It's a simple math equation. It's why you end up with slightly different prices kind of across the state, is just that it's more expensive, even though, look, it's more expensive to operate in Fairfield than it is to operate in Bridgeport or Shelton, which seems ridiculous because they're 2 miles from each other, but it's just the reality of where we live. So that's why the prices are slightly different location to location.
Perfect. I because people definitely get sometimes confused with that, and I think what you said, it makes a lot of sense. So we've talked about what we have, kind of who we are, but one of the things that we do that is a huge part of my job, my actual job description is, how we give back to the community. And
do you have an actual job description? Can I see
right.
that? I've always wondered what you
yeah,
do.
what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm like just all over the place doing a million different things. So, but yeah, one of those things is our community service, and it might sound sometimes it's sometimes difficult to talk about it without seeming like we're just seeing like, oh, look at all the good we do, but I think that you do a really good job at talking about, how we give back to the community and what we do, within the communities that we work in. Even though we are a growing company, we are still so localized in a lot of ways.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, I was born and raised in Connecticut, and it's home. Teresa and I are here. We're raising our kids here. We're not leaving here, and we've been really blessed. We've been really lucky to have the business success. And I think that a major part of that that success is the need to reinvest back into the communities that have provided us with that success. So I think it's a lot of things, Arthur. I think it's first acknowledging that accessibility to transportation is a major barrier for people to get out of poverty. And so keeping that in mind is super important to me. And so we give scholarships to people that can't afford driver's ed, and we make sure that this isn't a barrier for those that need it to be able to get out of whatever situation they're in and be able to get transportation, get a job, have mobility. So there's a lot of community efforts that go around that. On a more surface level, it's knowing that the high schools where we, do a lot of our work have a lot going on, and that school budgets have just been destroyed. And so, being able to send pizza to the Fairfield Ludlow Theater Group for their dress rehearsal is something that we're happy to do. Being able to contribute a $500 sponsorship to um, the Woodland High School football team or the Seymour High School softball team is something that we're happy to do. And so we contribute significant dollars, to the tune of close to $100,000 a year in local support just to high school community efforts every year. And we'll continue doing that forever moving forward. I would much rather support those causes than pay for ads with Facebook or Google. Um, the other thing that we do is we give our staff paid time off days to be able to go and work in the communities to work on things that are important to them. So our staff, regularly takes advantage of those, and it's always fun to see the pictures that come out of it of doing neighborhood cleanups or working in soup kitchens or some elderly care stuff, whatever is important to our staff members. And we're happy to give people the paid time to go and do that without the risk of losing their wages. The other big one now is with our driver rehab division, and being able to help the disability community has been some of the most rewarding work I've ever done. And giving back to that community or being able to provide for that community is something that we're just starting to dip our toe into and really understand. But I can already see that there's going to be major impact opportunities there, and we're gonna go all in on providing that impact. It's exciting.
Yeah, the driver rehab. I had Joan on a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and she talked a little bit about it. But just because we're on the topic, and I think it's one of the most interesting and cool things that we do. Can you just talk a little bit about driver rehab?
Yeah, for sure. A friend of mine was hit by a car 3 or 4 years ago. He had a traumatic brain injury, was really hurt, near death experience. Went through all of the rehab necessities. It took him about a year. And at the end of the program, he had to go through a driver rehab program. And he called me afterwards and he just said, Brandon, like, this program, there was no customer experience law. It made me really nervous. It made me really anxious. I feel like there's major opportunity here. Universe or spirits or God or whatever the heck you believe in, on the same day, Joan approached me and said, hey, I'm a certified driving rehab specialist, and I really think that this should be done in a driving school environment. So let's work together. And so that was the start of something awesome. And what the driver rehab services does is it basically works with somebody whose ability to drive is brought into question by some kind of health condition, right? And so that might be a new driver with autism spectrum disorder. That might be an experienced driver that has a stroke, and in a moment their life has kind of changed, or a traumatic brain injury like my friend had, or a spinal cord injury. And then on the degenerative disease side, we also work with people that have memory loss or MLS or excuse me, MS or ALS, where it's progressive and their ability to drive will deteriorate over time. And so we work with those people to keep them safely on the roads longer, or to teach them how to drive under their health conditions. And so it's super cool. We have a van that is a van, and now we have 6 cars that are fully adapted. So whether it's a short statured person that needs pedal extenders installed in the car, or a paraplegic that needs hand controls to be able to drive, we can have people drive from their wheelchair. We can have people transfer out of their wheelchair into the driver's seat, and then we can kind of build the car for what their abilities are, and make it so they can safely drive within those constraints. So really rewarding work. I didn't realize the volume of need out there for this kind of stuff, but just in turning it on, our team that was 1 is now up to 8 that are doing this work across 3 states. And it's just really incredible to see a person go from nervous, scared, I've been told I can't do this, but I really need to, all the way through to licensure, and then the doors that opens. It's really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of the things that I feel like I talk about a lot in all the webinars, because it's one of those programs that I remember when I first met Joan, just being so like, wow, this is so great, and it's something that me being, a typical able-bodied person doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily, I would have never really thought of, and I've seen people have adaptive driving, you know, of driving equipment, but it's not something you really think of, and you realize how many people need it, and how it's not just, it doesn't even have to be something that's very severe. It's something that,
Yeah.
like, I know Joan, I talking to Joan, just having trouble moving your neck, and having that mobility of your neck with someone who's older,
For sure.
just putting in an extra mirror that can check your blind spots and do those things can make it so you still have that freedom. And it's just something that is so interesting and awesome to me. And I had the, ability to work with driver rehab for a little while and do some events and learn a lot about it. And it's one of those awesome things that I think that we provide that no one else does.
Yeah.
And that's not as easy to find. So, and by the way, anybody who has any questions, please submit them in the comments. We're gonna get right into pretty much our last topic here, and we did already touch on it a little bit, but I want to just really hammer it home. We've had a few career presentation webinars on our Facebook Lives, and we talked about people who have worked here for anywhere between 6 months to 7 to 10 years. We've had so many different experiences and journeys throughout their time at the Next Street. And I just wanted to ask you, what kind of person are we looking for to work here? And
yeah, I mean, it's interesting. My philosophy on work is that it shouldn't suck, right? And I think that I talk to these people sometimes that just tolerate these jobs because they're like, oh, I get paid on Friday and it affords my lifestyle. And I'm like, yeah, but you could do that and be happy. Like, why doesn't the happiness quotient play into it? And so, we call it the people department here. Their exclusive focus is employee happiness. I mean, they're making sure that your Sunday night isn't ruining your Monday morning, right? That you're not dreading the next day's work. I'm going to answer your question, but from a philosophical standpoint, like, I just think that happiness matters. And regardless of you come to work for us or not, I hope everybody is taking the opportunity to reflect on kind of the why and the purpose part of the career. So who's the prime candidate? I'm probably a little too arrogant about it, but I think we could teach anybody to be a driving instructor. Like, the driver's ed as a service hasn't really changed in the 50 or 60 years that it's been around, right? Like, there's vehicle technology changes, but at its foundation, if everybody's really honest with themselves, it's a brake pedal, a gas pedal, a steering wheel, some mirrors, and the training of that, while we're very good at it, and our experience and time in the industry has made us very good at it, we can train just about anybody to do it. For me, the important thing is that we're training people that love it, that are inspired by the ability to help a new teen driver get on the road and be on the road. And I think the belief that we have is that the organization plays a role in helping the employees become the best versions of themselves. And so we invest a lot in people development, leadership development, helping you not only with your work stuff, but also with your personal budget and your finances, and making sure that you have the time that you need to spend with your family, or to do the community service things that you want to do. And so we're looking for people that sort of stuff excites and resonates with. It's not a job for somebody that wants to punch a time card in and punch a time card out and get their paycheck and not be bothered by their employer. Like, those types of people, we've learned to hate it here, because outstanding. No, because I mean, you as a perfect example, Arthur, like, you came in here as an entry level, nearly intern, and you've manifested that into your own journey and your own career path, that kind of doesn't have a ceiling. And so, you're hosting these webinars, like you grabbed this bull by the horn and ran with it. And I think that's a shining example of what we're looking for, are empowered people that want their own accountability and responsibility, that can, continue to grow for and with an organization. So those are the types of people. Obviously, you have to be comfortable driving and being behind the wheel. You have to be comfortable working with teenagers. But it's super rewarding to take a kid that doesn't know how to drive and is scared and nervous, and get them all the way through to licensure, and watch not only their driving skills improve and enhance, but just their overall maturity, that happens through this process. It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I'll definitely say, with my time doing lessons and as a driving instructor, a lot of people's, one of their big fears is working with teenagers, and what that's going to be like, and how they're going to be. Maybe they won't listen and stuff like that. But I will say, there is no better place to really strip down all of the facades than when they're behind the wheel and you're there just teaching them how to drive. It's something that they want to do. They want to learn how to do. They're motivated, and they're also, they're always going to be a little bit nervous. And so you don't have to deal with, the typical teenage experience. And
No,
I just feel like, it really gets, you get the best out of the kids that we teach too,
Yeah, in the 12 years we've done this, we've had like 2 episodes of need to step in on a disciplinary basis. Like I don't know. I also think that we're really good at talking to our students like they're young adults. Like, we don't treat them like kids, and they appreciate that. And I think we're also really good at acknowledging that being a teenager right now is really flipping hard. And the world that that they're stacked up against is challenging. And so we do our best not only to just teach them how to drive, but to kind of create a safe place for them to be themselves, and to talk about some of their fears going into licensure and what it means for the next steps, because our kids are about to go on to college, or about to go and get their first job, or about to go into whatever the next stages of their life are. So we're at this like kind of critical inflection point in their lives, and being a part of that, we look at that as an honor, not as something scary.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. So
I want to hear about you, man. What's like, are you getting engaged? What are you doing? Are you gonna pop the question? What's going on in Arthur's life? Yeah, everybody wants to know about Arthur, enough about me.
I'm gonna be the new Jeff, and I'm
the new target
all the time.
Yeah, we want to know when Jeff and Lily are gonna make a kid.
The other day too, and he was like,
"Are they pregnant? Are they do it?" Yeah, man. Time to pop the question. You could be in the married up club too.
Yeah. It's weird that I'm getting to the age where I see my peers getting married and like having kids, and it's like on purpose. Like, I know that sounds like a funny thing to say,
with intent,
but it's definitely weird. So yeah, I'll get on it. I'll keep you updated on that.
It's time. Then, she's gonna figure you out.
I know. I gotta figure it out quickly. And then, so I think, unless there are any questions that we get in the next couple minutes, I think we're just gonna kind of wrap it up here. And Brandon,
did anybody watch this thing? I feel like who?
Yeah,
who cares?
I know. Well, I think people really like to see kind of under the mask a little bit, I guess is a way to say it, where there's a lot more. People want transparency, and they want to see who's providing this service to their kids, and I think we get a lot of people who are just want to know all the steps, and we do have a lot of our other webinars are very, this was more of a sit down and talk, and there's definitely some good information in here, but a lot of our webinars are very informative, and we have experts in the fields, whether it's last week we had an insurance
Yep.
someone who's been in the insurance industry for over 20 years to talk about what to do when you're insuring your teen driver, which is something that is a whole
Yep.
nother scary thing. So, and that's one thing that I really want these webinars to be too, is it's not just while you're in the program, it's after and beyond, want to be providing you some good information that you need. And yeah, so keep watching these, and I'm here every week, and I'm right now streaming both to YouTube and Facebook at the same time.
Oh, you're fancy.
And,
You're like you're so tech savvy.
I know. I've managed to figure it out. And
every time I talk to the marketing team now, I just feel old. Like there was a time where I felt like I was in the know on all things.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, the kids are on Facebook. And now, they start showing me these TikTok videos, and I'm like, I'm trying hard to understand. I'm trying desperately hard to understand and not be the old dad in the room. But I'm also accepting the fact that, much like you're accepting the fact that your friends are getting married, I am accepting the fact that I make dad noises when I sit down.
Right. And yeah, we were, I know this will be funny to you. We spent about 4 hours yesterday filming TikToks. So, that's,
so happy that that's happening within the walls of the company that I started. But yeah, and I'm always impressed with what our marketing team comes up with for creative ideas. We're going to the Big E. Can I say that publicly?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It.
I feel like
let's announce it. I mean, we're gonna try.
I just did. We're going to the Big E, baby. We're gonna be we're gonna have a booth at the Big E. I'm gonna tell Kristen here right now that she has to design me a booth at the Big E.
So yeah, look out for that.
Churned butter.
What is that? September?
Butter booth. Driver's ed car out of butter at the Big E. That would be dope if you could bring that to life. Yeah, it's September, October, I think. I don't know. I went to the Big E every year as a kid. I have like fond memories of eating fried garbage and seeing country music concerts and the cows and the chicks and I don't know, the opportunity to be a part of it, feeling like we're a New England wide organization, and that being there makes a lot of sense is like so humbling and awesome. And yeah, come see us at the Big E. I'm like having all these fun brainstorms of how we could make our vendor booth.
Yeah, marketing is too. Trust me, we are scrambling to come up with some great stuff.
What does Shannon say? Don't sell me windows. I'm not here to buy windows.
Right.
I didn't come to the Big E to buy windows. Why are you slinging? So we have to make sure that we're not slinging hot tubs and windows at the Big E.
Yeah. So I think, really all we want from you now is just, kind of your last little wrap up statement, anything you want to kind of end on in particular. And then I think we're going to wrap it up here.
I mean, for our customers and both the students and the parents, I just want you to know that we are fully aware of the driving lesson backlog, and we are all over it. And I don't want you to think that we're ignoring you or that we're just kicking the can down the road. We have a 12-person team dedicated to hiring. And it's everyday phone calls and everyday Teams conversations. And I mean, we are flyering and postering and like basically tackling people in malls to apply for jobs. And we'll never put you or your student into a car with somebody that doesn't meet our minimum quality standards. That said, we have found a lot of really, really awesome people to come to work. We're all over it. And if you're so inclined, call your state legislator and tell them that the DMV needs to get more license tests, because we need that. And that's the one thing that's a little out of our control. But I will keep fighting that fight on behalf of the entire state of Connecticut until we can get the license test appointments that everybody needs. And eventually this thing is going to be back to a normally oiled machine, well-oiled machine. We're almost there. And masks are coming off and offices are reopening, and we're like right on the edge of being able to say as a company, like, okay, you don't have to wear your mask in the car anymore. So not yet, still wearing it.
Not yet,
but coming soon. So thanks for having me on here. You should definitely go propose to your girlfriend, and everybody should come see us at the Big E. I think those are the main takeaways.
Yes. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. And any questions you have for him, you ask us, and we'll we'll be
We'll
on.
ask. Yeah, I'll come back on anytime you guys want.
Yeah,
This is fun. All right, see you.
appreciate it. Thank you, Brandon. So, yeah, that was the interview right there. Again, if you have any other questions for us, please social media, email us, text us, call us. We have a lot of different ways that you can get in touch with us, and we can answer your questions. And I think it was really awesome to have Brandon on, and you get kind of a behind the scenes look of what we do here and what we're trying to do. And lessons are coming, tests are coming. We are you can see he works harder than anyone I've ever seen, and he is always trying to provide the best possible service that we can. So that's going to be it for today. Thanks everyone for watching. Again, it'll be on YouTube and Facebook if you missed any of this. It's immediately uploaded, so you can just rewatch, go through it, see some of the questions that you're interested in. I know that about 10 minutes in is when we really talked about the customer questions that we get very often, the FAQs. So yeah, check that out. And thank you so much. I'll be on next week. I don't remember what I'm doing, but I have you'll be getting an email, and we'll be posting about it on our social media. So yeah, follow us on Instagram for more updates on the webinars, and then Facebook and YouTube is where we actually do them, so that we can have this nice overlay for you. And yeah, thank you all so much, and I hope to see you all soon.